Let's talk about mindfulness in a new way. All right, let's before I do, is there any questions? Did anybody practice a mindfulness walk this week?
Yeah, I kind of felt like it was trying to walk and chew gum at the same time.
Yeah. When you first start, what I experienced when I first started was you would feel like you're off balance. Like it was hard. It was almost like it was like learning to walk all over again. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Anybody else play with it?
It reminded me of yoga, just the movement with the breath. And I feel like both of those things combined almost feels easier to let go of thought. And then I was in Aldi with Josh this morning. Hold on.
What?
Oh.
What's wrong?
Okay, I'm back. The computer screen went blank. Anyway.
You were here the whole time. You've never left me
pace,
nor forsaken me.
My pace was driving him crazy, and I started laughing because I thought, this is actually my homework.
Yeah.
And I wasn't even thinking about it. So then I started really thinking about it, and he was just doing circles around me while it took like 5 steps, and it was so humorous. I was like, I can't wait to do this again for the humor factor. Like, this is fun.
Yeah. When I go ahead, I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
And then I wondered, because I hear you talk about shopping at Aldi, and the checkout clerks there are timed on their speed. And so I'm just wondering what happens when you go through the line.
I didn't know that they were.
That's what I hear.
Huh.
So what does that look like? I mean, because you have to keep going in that line. If you're on your pace, what does that look like in Aldi checkout?
Silas only buys 5 things, so he lays it up there quickly.
Gotcha.
Do you mean like you think I'm holding up the line? Is that what you mean?
Yes, like yes. I was like, I wanted to see it, like, because there I was with this full buggy, and I've been walking really slowly, and so now I had to like kick it into fast gear, and I was like,
oh no, like I don't kick it in. I don't kick it into fast gear ever, unless I'm like playing a sport or something.
Yeah, you do once in a while. Yeah. You do.
Well, sometimes. Beth might know about that. Yeah, I mean sometimes on the playground you kick it into fast gear. I don't know. I don't know what that looks like. We'll have to go to Aldi together and find out. I don't know. Let's do it. It's a date. Anybody else want to come? We're gonna go to Aldi.
Oh yeah.
No.
I'd love to go to Aldi with you because that would really slow me down. You know why? Because I stop every freaking thing I'd want to buy. So I'd be like that all day. I want to eat it right there.
Oh man, I know. I was drinking. They had this aloe juice.
Aloe.
And I just grabbed a bottle and started drinking that shit. And while we were walking through Aldi, and I was like, man, unfortunately it had like cane sugar in it, but other than that, it had a few things in it. But I mean, it was I didn't expect, because I've had aloe, like straight aloe, and it just is kind of tasteless and it's not great. Supposedly it's really good for you, like it's like heaven's nectar or whatever. But
he asked everybody, have you drank aloe?
What did I do? Did I really?
Yes.
Oh, anyway, that shit was good.
I mean, like, I walk circles around him when he's shopping. He stops to talk to everybody.
No, I don't.
Yes, you do.
Do I really?
He's such a social butterfly.
I don't do that ever.
Well, I'm excited because we're getting an Aldi.
Yes. Aldi. Aldis are great. So let's do it. Let's just do Aldi together. I'm gonna be there. Hopefully y'all will be there too.
We can do our Zoom from Aldi.
Yeah. I've taught classes from a strip club before, so we can do it from Aldi.
Mm-hmm. That was from the parking lot, though, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
They frown on cameras running in strip clubs, so I thought I might actually know some of the managements well enough they might let me do it from a back room sometime, but that hadn't happened. Management shifts too much. You just start to get to know somebody, because I don't have any like clubs nearby. I have to drive like 2.5 hours to the closest club. Anyway, we can chill at Aldi sometime. Be fun. I'm glad you guys did your walking meditation. One of the reasons why sometimes that walking meditation feels a little bit, when you first start, you can feel out of balance and stuff. But then also what I have heard is I actually have heard people also echo kind of what you're echoing, Laura, in that it was like a little bit easier to focus on the breath while doing the movement. Because in some way it's distracting the mind. The mind has an easier time focusing on something than it does to just sit and do nothing. Like the mind struggles with doing nothing sometimes more than it does with doing something, if that makes sense. So just breathing you can find yourself overwhelmed with thoughts, whereas when you're walking and you're focusing on the step and the breath at the same time, you can feel like you're not so overwhelmed with thoughts. So both are actually pretty common experiences. I started doing walking meditation when I didn't know I was doing walking meditation. And I wouldn't have called it walking meditation when I started, but I was definitely doing it. And a lot of it was just because I was so high. I was just walking really slow and breathing really deep, because with every breath it felt like I was being escorted straight into fucking ecstasy. And so I found myself just walking really slow and breathing really deep. The timing of my breaths with my steps, or the synchronization with my breaths and my steps, came later. But I was really doing a walking meditation the whole time, just really enjoying the scenery, enjoying what was around me, but being completely focused on the breath. And so what I want you to do this week as you continue to expand your walking meditation is, if you're doing it and it's outside, I want you to use your senses, be very aware of what's going on around you as far as nature. Stop and feel the tree, look at the bird and just be with the bird and just be completely clear of thought. And just see that when you observe something without judgment, without thought, without conceptualization, you see it in a brand new way. You'll learn things that you'll realize things, and you'll learn things that you never thought, or you never would have crossed your mind that you would have learned when you just let go of conceptualization. You let go of that. So when you see the bird, let go of the idea that it's a bird. Don't even see it as a bird. Just let go of it. Just see it as if this is the very first time you've ever acknowledged this little flying creature. This little flying, tweeting creature. And just see, what is this? Wow, it's magical. Look how it flies through the air. Look how magical it is. And be with it. So we're letting go of all thought. If you bring your projection or your conceptualization of a bird into that moment, then in some way you're limiting it. In the same way, this is also really powerful, because the more you learn to do this, you actually let go of doing this with those that you love, with those that you see on a reoccurring basis, and maybe even with those that you see only occasionally. You'll stop conceptualizing them, which is one of the more difficult things to do in your mind, is to not conceptualize the people that you see every day. Very difficult thing to do in your mind. Matter of fact, that can feel like a war. If you make it a work, it'll feel like a war. It'll feel like, I'm screwing up again. Here I go again, conceptualizing this person. Here I go again, judging this person. Here I go. I mean, that's how it'll feel. And so, I don't want any of you guys to practice any of the things that I'm having you guys practice and it feel like work. If it feels like work, you're not doing it right, first of all. If it feels like work, you're not listening. None of this should feel like work. It should literally, at first, sometimes when people first start practicing, it feels like work because they're trying to practice, and they're coming in as an ego trying to practice. I'm just saying, hey man, let go. Like there's nothing. This is just about your mind. That's not who you are. So even if your mind is doing something that is foreign to your nature, it's not who you are. Let it go. Just see it, observe it, let it go. Does that make sense? You get emotionally tied up in something, right? You're emotionally attached and you emotionally get all caught up and tied up in knots. And then you start to think, well, Silas's class, this is not who I am, and now you feel bad. You're actually feeling bad. Have you ever done that? Have you ever felt like condemned because, yeah? Or like you just didn't feel good. You knew I wasn't condemning you, but it was almost like the teaching itself condemned you. The you that's feeling condemned there isn't you. Like that is not you. Who you really are is never needed to defend yourself because there's nothing ever to defend. Who you are is completely free of law. So there's never anything that would need to be defended. Being. It's one of the most misunderstood and yet the most powerful words in our vocabulary. To just be with you. No pressure. I don't have to say anything. I can. I don't have to. Like literally, I don't feel like I come to these classes having to say something to you. I got something in my teeth. I literally don't feel like I'm coming to these classes where I have to say something. No pressure. I'd be all right. If we're hanging out, I don't have to say something. I used to feel like I had to keep the party going. Like if I didn't keep the party going, no one would. I remember when I was pastoring in churches. I used to feel like if I didn't set the tone for like the worship service, especially in like smaller churches, if you have 100 or less people in a church, somebody has to set the tone. And if you don't have like that worship leader that's out there setting the tone, getting everybody involved, you have to start to try to get that momentum going. Oh man, I used to leave church services wore the fuck out. I was wore out. I mean, yes, it was an authentic expression, but at the same time, it was also me wanting to get everybody engaged. And that was a lot of work. And there's really nothing authentic about if I have to sit around and get everybody else engaged, it's not really authentic. It's not a true act of worship, right? Right. So it's pretty wild that I used to live in that way. I would be exhausted, Kevin. A true act of worship is effortless. When I worship you, it's effortless. To worship your being is effortless. It requires no work. It comes with no expectations. It's effortless. It doesn't, if I'm worshiping you and you don't receive it or you don't reciprocate it, the one that's really full of worship, bringing worship, doesn't go, I can't believe. No, because its intent is just the worship. It's not doing it for a return, for reciprocation, you understand? What we do in this world of duality, within this world of duality, is we think that loving somebody looks like doing something for them, but we get upset when they don't do something back or when they don't reciprocate those actions. And it doesn't matter whether we're talking a friendship, a lover, it doesn't matter, it can be any number of things. And that's having an agenda with a person. Like, I need this from you. Please reciprocate this. You're like, what's wrong? You text them and they don't respond. Well, why didn't you respond? Now all of a sudden there's a fight going on because somebody didn't respond to your text right away or something. This is silly. It's just like, I reciprocated love. Like, I said, I love you. You didn't say it back. Well, I said, I love you. Beth, I said, I love you. I need it back. No, Sometimes I'm like, did you hear me? But it's not, I don't need you to say it back. I just want to make sure you heard me. Did you feel it? So, does this make sense? I don't even know what I'm saying at this point, but Kevin, go ahead. Your hand's raised.
Yeah, it makes sense. What I've done is do stuff that really doesn't make sense because so an example would be a true test to see how I'm going to respond if I want a certain response from somebody. So sometimes what I'll do is if I get like a thought, like kind of like a childlike thought, it doesn't really make a lot of sense, but to me it's kind of amusing, but it doesn't really sound cool. It almost sounds kind of stupid. I will purposely go to somebody that I think is pretty cool, and I'll say it.
Uh-huh.
Just to learn, just for me to not give a shit what he thinks.
Uh-huh.
Because before I was so, my heart would be beating. I go, oh, I hope this person likes me, or
Right.
it doesn't matter, straight or gay or whatever.
Yeah.
I'll do that with guys at the gym, because I just love them, and I want to make sure I don't really care about the response.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And so I'll say something it's kind of stupid, but it's kind of childlike, and then sometimes they'll just give me this blank look, which is fine, because how else are they going to react, But what I'm trying to do is teach myself not to get out of shape over it, and just to say, okay, love you, bro, and walk away. And I know it sounds kind of retarded, but
No, it doesn't.
it's really helped me to free myself to not second think everything I have to say.
Uh-huh.
I hear what you're saying.
It's that authentic expression, right? Like that, we have learned to filter all of our expressions. We've learned we live in a society that's good at backspacing. We've learned to filter all of our expressions through what is societally, culturally, morally acceptable or not, and so to do that, first of all, Kevin, it doesn't sound retarded at all. First of all, retards are awesome. So if you're saying like that sounds awesome, I agree. If that's what you meant. But secondly, to move through those physical, mental moments of discomfort, to move through them is really important for your mind and body, because you can know that you're free and yet still live restricted in the form. And so if we want to live, like, it's absolutely ridiculous. So one of the things at flow events that I talk about all the time, it's absolutely ridiculous for us to go, I'm free, but then live in a complete box in the form. Like, well, I'm spiritually free, but I live under this law and this law and that law and this law, this societal law, this cultural law, this religious law, this marital law, this thing. And so this is what we do. We live under all these laws, and we live as a result of those laws under all this shame, heaps and tons of shame. But then we're looking at it and we're talking to our friends. We're like, yeah, we're free. I'm free. Yeah, man, who you are has never been in bondage. But your body and mind is like in a deep, dark prison cell, bitch. You know what I mean? That's what you want to say to people. I just felt like, felt like emphasis on bitch. Because that's exactly what we are. We're like somebody's bitch in that moment. If you can't go up to somebody and be like, my God, you are beautiful. And if you're afraid to do that because of how it's taken, you're their bitch. That's what you are. You're their bitch. You're letting you're not being authentic at all. Our world is full of inauthenticity. Programmed responses Our world is full. You cannot walk out the door of your home and not see everything is programmed. The only thing that's not programmed is like nature. Birds and deer and the little bunny rabbits humping on the side of the sidewalk, they're not nearly as programmed, and yet they still have lots of programmed responses, but they're not nearly as programmed as humanity. As human beings are so programmed. Well, hello, how are you? I'm fine, and you? Like, shut the fuck up for a second. Just answer honestly. Like, I'm miserable. Would be a better response. I want to kill myself. Great. I'd rather you say that than I'm fine. So, like, I love to do that too. I love to change up my responses. I love to say things that just catch people off guard. But most of all, I just love to be authentic in that moment. Whatever that moment looks like. Sometimes that moment looks like, yeah, I'm doing good, man. A lot of times I won't ask, how are you? Like I've said this many times, I only ask, how are you if I authentically want to know how you are. And so that's the funniest part. You're in the store or you're at the gym or whatever, and you're like, they say, how are you doing? And I'm great, man. I'm doing awesome. And then I go, how are you? And I sit and I look at them like, how are you doing? And they're like, great. And they're just saying it in passing, the programmed response. And I'm actually like looking at them like, I'm ready to hear like, what's going on? Like, what's happening? And they don't know what to do with those sorts of things. So I'm saying, yes, I applaud you. Keep being authentic. Keep waging that, going beyond those boundaries that exist in your head. If the boundary says, hey, I can't do this, or I shouldn't do this, this isn't right, or this is going to make somebody uncomfortable, just be willing to go through that and then deal with the ramifications of those feelings and recognize that those feelings aren't you and those thoughts aren't you and all of that restriction isn't you. Keep doing it, because you can be really free and know you're free, but if your mind is keeping you imprisoned in some way, blow through that. Blow through it. Keep it going, Kevo. It's good. Go ahead, Miss Pervert.
I'm still waiting to be in a class with Kaylee so she can see my name.
Literally, I knew this would happen. She literally, that moment she said, wait, you're telling me I don't need to do anything, and I knew she wouldn't show up to classes anymore. I knew she wouldn't. I knew she would be gone. I figured she'd be gone for at least 2 weeks to maybe a month until she starts to have a breakdown, then she'd be back. It's just funny. But anyway, continue. She'll be back at some point.
I'll be waiting for her, yeah. On the subject of worship, I was thinking about how perhaps the person of Laura loves what feels like worship to me, the idea of the flower just being open to the sun. And even if the sun doesn't know it's a sun, it doesn't matter. The flower can still just be open and vulnerable. And this feeling to me is the highest drug. And so I'm questioning, who is this person that has this great like? And I feel like this knowing sort of was sinking in of, this is just you enjoying yourself. But I still question, is that true or is that perception?
The you is not perceptionally enjoying or not enjoying. It's in the enjoyment is your perception. This is why perception is important. This is why mindfulness is important. So enjoy the moment you're in perceptionally. Enjoy the unfolding. Enjoy that vulnerability. That is the form and the mind enjoying something. Taking part in that thing. That's what that is. And that mind and body and the form is existing within yourself. So all of this is happening within your own being, within your own nature. You are more of the observer of it, the awareness, than you are that. So you are perfect pleasure. And when I say that, what I'm actually trying to get people to understand when I say you are pleasure, you are ecstasy, is that you can experience in a bodily form ecstasy continually, perfectly and eternally, continually. If you're gonna, you essence did not fill a bodily form to experience misery. You essence filled a bodily form to experience pleasure and the beauty of this world, and to have fun, and to live and to love and to enjoy. You did not fill it to be miserable. So just realize, like, yeah, you don't have to sit and second guess ask every time you experience something beautiful or not, whether or not it's you. The experience isn't your truest nature. All of it, but all of it is happening within you. And so even the experience is happening within you. So all of it's happening within you. So instead, just enjoy it. Just enjoy it. Enjoy that beauty. That is worship. That is to be able to sit and receive, or just be able to give, to be yielded and vulnerable, to be open. If that's what is enjoyed, then enjoy it. That's awesome. One thing I would say is this: what people do, when we identify as the person, is when we let the mind attach to something, is then the mind starts attaching to, this is the greatest thing, like this is the best. And that's when you'll start limiting it. And that's when you'll find that the mind keeps trying to push certain boundaries. Like it'll keep experiencing something and keep wanting to push the boundaries for the purpose of continually experiencing a greater high. Your body realizing your true nature is the greatest high. Yeah, the greatest high your body can experience is when your body and mind are perfectly yielded to the breath, perfectly yielded to the moment. And then that moment can unfold in worship, and you can feel a whole different kind of excitement in your body, energy in your body, in your mind. But the greatest, when I say the greatest, I'm saying that because that keeps the body from getting caught up in more patterns. Which is what a lot of times we do, people do. And then you kind of miss the beauty of it. If you were to observe one flower bloom, open up, and bloom every day for the entire course of its life. Eventually, most people would observe that flower and they would just be like, "Oh, yep, the flower's blooming again. Like I've seen this 100 times. Yep, there it goes. It's blooming, not shutting. It's going through its whole cycle." But the first time they watched that flower was experienced differently. This is like a man and a woman, or a man and a man, or a woman and a woman, whatever, experiencing love for the first time. People, beings experiencing love, intimate love, physical connection. And then that connection, after the first time, second time, after a couple times, then it becomes this going through the motions. You've experienced this. Now, when you are truly mindful, you're never going through motion. The more your mind is trained to be present in you, in your true nature, in the presence, the more you'll find less going through motions and more flow. More beautiful expression and exploring the depths of those expressions instead of just kind of going through the same monotonous motions that seem to be there. Monotony only takes place where there's law. You do it a certain way because you're not supposed to do it other ways. Well, I enjoy this. Do it this way. How do you know you don't enjoy this? You haven't tried it. How do you know you don't like green olives? Well, I tried them 5 years ago. You haven't tried this green olive. Maybe this green olive will change your mind. But when you approach the green olives and you realize you look at it and you're like, I don't really like green olives. Or why don't you like green olives? Because I was told I can't eat them. Sucks to be you. And all I mean is this, that when you live out of that place, you are going to find misery there. Yeah, there will be misery there. And for some of you, you're discovering freedom in a world that isn't free. And it creates a more complex situation. And it feels as if, well, I know I'm free, but I can't really necessarily be an expression. I can't be like Kevin and do a naked video dance on Vimeo because people that know me, I would lose my job, or my wife or my husband would leave me, or they would throw a fit. They would get all upset that somebody else saw my naked body or whatever. You know what I mean? There's ramifications for certain expressions that. So what I mean is, you're discovering freedom in a world full of laws, in a world governed by laws, in relationships governed by laws, and so it can feel difficult. My encouragement to you is not to overthink it. So the more you practice mindfulness, the more you're learning to be present. The thing with being present is it can get you in trouble. As long as you're living under law, it can get you in trouble. The you I'm talking about isn't you. Be present. Fuck the consequences. Because there will never be a time where you're not, as long as you continue to live under the law, there will never be a time that you're not under law. Until you're no longer living under law. Does that make sense? So be free, be you. I don't care what that looks like. When I talk about these things, and I might talk about, I don't really go to extreme examples because I realize that maybe there are some people in these classes that can't handle extreme examples still, but sometimes my examples might still feel extreme even though to me they're not. But there might be an expression that, let me just ask, do you ever overthink anything? You ever feel like expressing something and you just start thinking, or you get in your head, and then that thing that you originally wanted to express that was really actually quite beautiful is kind of turned into something else, or you're like, well, if I say this and they might misunderstand, or maybe this person or this thing is living in this way, and then I don't. Have you ever overthought, whatever capacity that is? No? Yes. So what I'm saying is stop all the thinking. It's weighing you down. It really is weighing you down. The world doesn't need any more of that. We've been living under law for so long, guys. Humanity's been living under law for so long. It's like I was telling Beth recently. Apparently that blog was going back around locally. And so some people came to her and they were like, did you hear? And I literally looked at Beth and I was like, until you're willing to just come out and look at them and say, yeah, I don't care. He's free to do it. Even though those things in the blog, which is funny, weren't true. until she's willing to just come out of the closet, so to speak, and say, Silas is okay. It's okay with me. Like, I don't care what he's free to do what he wants. Like, that's okay. Then you're going to live as long as because you're still trying to live under like some sort of societal morality while really saying, well, I don't live that way, but I want everybody else to think that I live that way. Until you're willing to just come out. And I use the example of living in the closet. Kevin knows about that, right? Like when you're afraid to express how you really, like how you feel or the kind of person you're attracted to. Like in the case of sexuality, if a man, especially with men even more than women, what I've understood, is if they're sexually attracted, that's not who you are. You're not a male or a female. Like that doesn't matter. There is no gay or straight. Like that doesn't really exist. It's just in our minds, right? Everybody gets that. We say we get it, but then we still label everything. Kevin loving another man is no different than me loving Beth. There's zero difference in that. The only difference is the personal expression. That's the only difference. But the weight you feel when you live under the pressure of law, when you live under the pressure of the societal law, and you're like trying to hide. Like for how many years did you not want the people at your workplace to know about your kind of lifestyle? Because you knew if they found out, they would can you, right? Or, within some of the churches that you went to and the various, like you loved going and just experiencing the people there, right, Kevin? But how much pressure did you feel? Like, did you feel pressure to, should I really come out and share how I really feel? What will they do?
Exactly. It's miserable. It's
Yeah.
Laugh about it now. It was what it was. I don't need to go there anymore.
Yeah.
I'll go back to that.
Thank God.
And so it was what it was.
Yeah.
It was supposed to happen, and I just use it now to rocket my freedom more. And I was just thinking of this today about I don't usually lament over all my past ailments and tragedies, and if you live a certain number of years, you're going to go through stuff. So I've gone through a lot of stuff, but you forget a lot of stuff, and I almost forget about stuff that lasts like 20 years, which is remarkable. I mean, like an example would be like the back situation was so horrendous, and the nerve pain that I had for years, not a year, not a month,
right?
Like 10 fucking years,
Right.
I just don't know how to I don't need to describe that really to myself, because I don't need to bring it, I don't need to mesh over it. All I do is just take it for what it was and say, God, I'm so free.
Yeah.
But I don't really think about it, the suffering, so much anymore. It's like as the years go by, I'm almost forgetting about it.
Sure, of course. Yeah, that's good.
Because I don't even want to see myself in that vein.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anymore. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I very seldom mention. Every once in a while I mention it because it is an awesome transformation. But as far as me mulling over it, no.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about the next.
Yeah. You're enjoying the moment and enjoying wherever it's going. Yeah.
At a level of feeling good instead
Sure.
of transforming out a level of feeling like shit and getting myself out of a hole.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm out of a hole, so I'm transforming way above the hole.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, so all I was kind of wanting to point out though was this, that as long as you're over here recognizing your freedom, but in here you recognize that you're enslaved or imprisoned by certain rules, certain laws, whether that be societal, whether that be relational, whether that be moral, you're kind of enslaved by certain laws or rules, right? So you recognize that you're the free one, but then you feel the burden of that and you're like almost afraid to come out of the closet here in this form to say, hey, this is how I feel, this is how I am, regardless of whether or not society recognizes it or understands it or not is irrelevant to me. The relationship that Beth and I have, we don't call it an open relationship. We're not out looking to screw other people. I just love her. She just loves me. And what that means is you're free to be whatever you want to be with whomever, whenever, but I love you. We're doing life together. So we're committed to do life together and enjoy one another when we're together and enjoy our family and raise this family and enjoy that and be able to celebrate one another's joys. And you can call that whatever you want. You can try to label it. Society would probably try to label it an open relationship. And all I was trying to explain to like Beth was that as long as you recognize you're free and over here you're free, but I'm still trying to get people in the society and in my circles to think that I live just like them, right? Because I'm not ready to come out and say, hey, this is how we live, because of you'll be ostracized or you'll be looked at poorly or whatever, which is what a lot of people do. And it doesn't matter what that thing is. I'm just using Beth and you know, your experiences as a through that lens of homosexuality, and Beth's experiences through all the changes and the things that she's grown in and the changes that have happened in her. I'm just using those as an example. But we can all relate to this idea that we're recognizing that we're the free one while still being afraid to talk about it or share it or like just push through that wall. It's kind of like I've said a million times, it's funny, is everybody can sit and say, I realize I'm not the body, yeah, I'm free, I'm not the body. But then I'm like, okay, well, let's do some exercises to prove that you're not the body. Oh, no, 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 no. You know, I'm not derobing in front of anybody, I just don't feel like it. That's because there's shame there. No, there's not. I'm free. I just don't feel, you know. No, there is. I understand that. There is still shame there. In your mind, you feel free, but if you're not willing, like if you can't do it in some way, I'm still identified as this body. There's still shame. There's this law that has covered me that is I've been programmed by this law for so long that I feel like it would be wrong. It's inappropriate. It's not right. That's just one very small little bleep on the radar of things that we identify in. Mindfulness, the reason why I'm bringing this up is because the more mindful you become of the moment, Laura, to truly be mindful of the moment, you can't be mindful of the moment you're in as that flower is unfolding, blooming, opening up. You can't be mindful of the moment you're in while simultaneously being mindful of all this law around you. Because what's happening is all this law that's going on around you, that's existing in the background of your mind, is actually limiting and restraining the flower as it opens. And so all that law is manipulating the flower. So that feels like a battle. And I recognize and I realize, regardless of whether it feels like a battle to you guys that are here with me right now, and it probably does to some of you, I do know that it feels like a battle to the vast majority of humanity. Like when I say the vast majority, like 99.9% of humanity, this is a battle. Because they're living in some way restrained or restricted by somebody else's relational law, moral law, religious law, societal law. They're living restrained by that. They're allowing what somebody else thinks or what they've been taught and programmed to ultimately determine how this flower is opening up, what I'm expressing. And so they're at the grocery store and they feel like expressing something, but they're like, oh, well, I don't know. I feel like just going up to that woman and being like, my God, you're sexy. But I can't, but then on my mind, I'm like, I can't do that because what if that dude's with her and he gonna punch me in the face, or that, you know, like people don't know how to handle it, or like, you know, hey, do you want to go have some dinner? You want to get coffee? Well, aren't you, you know, like, well, I'm married. I don't care if you're married, just come have dinner with me. Like, I didn't ask if you were married. I asked if you wanted to have dinner. You know, but you can't say stuff like that. That's what I mean. Like, all of a sudden you feel free, but you're living in a world of law, and that world of law is ultimately influencing the way you express yourself. To Kevin's point earlier, he's like, when I feel like I'm worried about what this person might think, but I want to express this, I just go up and say something weird like, my God, you got some tight buns. You know? Well, that guy might be, oh, well, thank you. You know, like, I I had a woman at the gym one day sit on my face. And on the one hand, everybody at the gym started like going to Beth like worried, and like she was stalking me. She really was stalking me. She was following me. If I left the weight room and I'd go to the pool, within a few minutes she was walking in the pool in her bikini. They got her on video. I went into one of the locker rooms. They got her on video pacing the hallway waiting for me to come out. Like she was trying to get with me hardcore. And I knew like something was off, but on the one hand it was a little, you know, like you don't need to stalk me. On the other hand, I thought it was a really beautiful, ballsy thing to do, to be able to wade through this thing, because I didn't even know her name when she sat on my face. I'm doing dumbbell bench press. I got 110-pound dumbbells in each hand. I'm doing this isn't like one of my big hard sets or anything. This is back in the days where I would do 150-pound dumbbell presses. But so I got 110. I'm doing a warm-up set of like 12 reps or whatever. But you know, you put them on your legs and then you flip them back and you roll back onto the bench. And so I go back onto the bench and I'm pressing out. I'm still focused. I'm focused on the weight and muscle mind, muscle connection. I'm pressing out a few reps. And all of a sudden, butt cheeks right on my face. Ass cheeks. And I was like, I don't even know what's happening. I finished the set. I put them down. And there she is. She's like, hey, how you doing? And I was like, you sat on my face. Yes, I did. You know, I didn't even know her name. Now, first of all, let me say this. That's awesome. I don't recommend it. I'm not saying you should do it or shouldn't do it. I'm just saying, on the one hand, it is pretty awesome that she wasn't afraid to express herself. Isn't it? Now, again, I'm not recommending you sit on people's face in the weight room. I'm not saying you should. I'm not saying you shouldn't. I would never tell you should or shouldn't do anything. But what I'm saying is this. Now, she's come to find out, you know, like she's got some sex addiction issues and things, but she's an awesome lady. We actually tried to do some things with her and her husband, and actually they asked Beth to be their third at one point. Her husband was a little insecure to ask me to be the third. So I guess that's why they didn't ask me. I don't know. She politely declined. If you're wondering, she didn't feel it. But Dean's not even laughing. That's kind of weird. He's like off in a trance. Anyway, I'm got completely distracted on the story of this lady sitting on my face and her situation. That's not the point. And for all those that might watch this recording, that's not the point. Don't get distracted by the crazy story. The point is this, that don't allow societal laws keep you from an expression of love. I don't think that her expression was necessarily an expression of love, but it doesn't matter. And it didn't offend me at all. I didn't care. Heck, it wouldn't have mattered to me one way or another. But I thought it was strange. Just what I thought was strange. And so people around, just to continue the example. You okay with this? People around her work started calling her Beth's sister wife. And they were like, well, she's flirting like Silas is flirting back. And I said, well, hold on a second. I looked at Beth and I said, did they bring up when one of the guys in the weight room walked by me and I smacked him on the ass and whistled? Did they bring that up? Nope. Did they bring it up when I was telling Bobby, how the bodybuilder there, how beautiful he is and how his smile lights up the room? Nope. But if I look at her and I'm like, you're looking beautiful today, then all of a sudden Silas is flirtatious, because they have this whole thing twisted in their mind, right? People want to pervert everything through the societal lens of law. Like, that's okay, but this isn't. And they have all these different rungs of that, you know, like different thoughts of what is okay and what is not okay. You have that within every relationship, and you have that within every work environment. You have that within every societal environment. Do we not? Yes. The point of mindfulness is to become so present that that all of that fades into the non-existent background. things that normally bother you, when you're truly mindful, when you're truly present in the moment, when you're high on this place of life and enjoying the now, they fade into the non-existent background. They no longer bother you. If Silas is just kind of in my mind, if I'm like in the mind, allowing the mind, you're either in the mind or you're out of the mind. If I'm in the mind, then I notice, oh, the kids aren't doing their dishes. You gotta do the dishes. Or why didn't anybody pick this up off the floor? The trash needs to be empty. Things bother you. The high Silas just goes, something's on the floor. Like, oh, that doesn't mean that I don't bring it to the kitchen. I have still responsibility in the children's life. I'll be like, hey, did you wash your dish? You know, this is your responsibility to wash the dish. Like, it's your dish. They have their own dishes. They're responsible for it. So that doesn't mean I don't bring it up. I'm just saying it doesn't bother me. Does this make sense? Because you're free. You're free of that societal law. If you were able to do a walking meditation with every step that you took, would you think so much about everything? Like when you consider you're walking through a store and you're just observing, and all of a sudden, next thing you know, your mind is just running with storylines. But if you're doing a walking meditation the entire time you're walking through the store, there is no storylines. You're just truly present. The moment now is really yours to embrace, and it's really now unfolding because you're not manipulating it with your own storylines. Does that make sense to you? It does. Okay, tell me how it makes sense. Tell me what you think is, like, what do I mean by that? Does anybody want to talk to me about it? Chill with me, have a little convo.
It makes sense to me that to not be bombarded with my storylines.
But do you recognize that the storylines end up influencing the moment? So the storyline's only existing in your head, but it ends up influencing the moment, and it kind of, you're missing the moment for what it truly is because you're only seeing it through a lens of that storyline. So, this is the trick. You're playing a character, right? You're playing a character. You're playing in this form, in this beautiful temple, this holy temple, this perfect body. You're playing in this body. You're playing with this mind. And you're playing various characters and various roles with this body and mind. Everybody understands this, right? You get it. Okay. What happens though is the storyline comes in, and it's almost like I'm in the moment. If you're in the moment, you're walking through the grocery store. Well, I'll just use an example. You see this really attractive person, and then the storyline kicks in. Well, what could happen? I might go talk to them, and then, oh my God, then they're going to become this lover of mine, and oh, this could happen, and we could end up, who knows? We could end up in freaking Hawaii, making love on the beach. You know, like I'm just saying, like storylines we create. People create storylines like this in their head all the time. Well, what happens then is you run in, you start talking to this person, but now you're talking to them with an agenda. Without even knowing it, you have this behind the scenes agenda, and you don't even really recognize that you do, but the storyline is influencing the way that you're seeing this person and what you might even say to this person, because you might, I want to win them. I want them to like me. I want them to enjoy me. So I'm going to say it this way instead of just be the raw, real expression, right? And so now the character is almost getting lost in the playground. It's trying to fit in, it's trying to blend so that it can create this story. Am I making sense? If you're going to play the character, but recognize you're playing the character and don't get lost. If you're playing a character, Don't try to mold that character, blend that character in with everybody else. The character, the beauty of that character is that it looks different than the other characters. Don't try to mold. Don't try to fit in. You don't play a character to fit in. You play a character for fun. Right? Yeah. So, personally, lots of characters I play, most of them unintentional. Sometimes I do play them intentionally, but a lot of times they're unintentional. And so what I pretty much, I live very mindful, very high. My baseline is probably the equivalent of somebody that's smokes pot every single moment of every single day, all of their life. Like that's my bottom. That's the bottom tier of my experience. That's not like a high experience. That's the bottom level. Like that's not like my baseline is somebody smoked a blunt this big. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? So, and what I like to do is I like to be so mindful of that moment and be so present and just free flowing expression of love. It's what I desire. Does anybody else just desire to be a free-flowing expression of love, like your body to be the free-flowing expression of the love that you are that fills it? Anybody else? I figured you did. I figured all of your heads would nod yes since you're in this class. And so now we're just free-flowing, and like my heart is to break societal boundaries for the purpose of expressing that love. Because, and I don't even know that a lot of times that I'm doing it, but when you do that, it catches people off guard. Like people don't know what to do because they're so used to the programs and the programmed responses. You understand? The thing that limits or that has hindered that free-flowing expression of love is all the background noise in your mind. And a lot of that background noise is programmed laws and rules that have ultimately formed and shaped your mind. I shouldn't do this, I can't do that, I can't do things this way, I can't do things that way. You know, like there's all these programmed rules. Mindfulness is about being present and letting go of those rules. So right now with me, just be with me. I just want you to sink in, kind of like what we did at the beginning of the first class. Just want you to close your eyes. I want you to let go of all the laws, of all the rules. We're not going to even talk about them right now anymore. We're just going to be here in this moment. You're hearing the sound of my voice. You're present with me. You're just here with me. And when I say you, I don't even mean about your body, your mind. All of you and me, we're one, manifesting in these unique forms. And we're just present here together. No laws to restrict you. Nothing to keep you from enjoying this moment however you would like. Just let your body just breathe as I'm talking. Just breathe in through your nose. Just let your mind and body feel the rush of that breath. Feel the high of that breath. Enjoy it. This moment is no different than any other moment. It's one unfolding, eternal moment. This moment is called Eden. Eden is a place, this place. This place is that place that has no rules. You can do or not do. It's completely up to you. Completely up to you. No judgment here. There is literally no judgment here in the now, in this place of Eden. So whether you do or do not do is completely up to you. But when you choose to not do something, it's just because that was your expression of love. And when you choose to do something, it's just simply because that was your expression of love. It's not one better than the other. To do is not bad, and to not do is not good. It's all perfect. There's no shame here. In the now, there is never shame. There is no fear. There is no guilt. There is no condemnation. All the rules and the laws have exited, and we're just here enjoying this moment together. Doesn't this moment feel nice? Does it or no? Yeah? Laura, does it feel good? Beyond, does it feel good or no?
It overwhelms me.
Okay, good. It feels good. And so I want you to realize that this moment is unfolding. The perfection of this moment is just unfolding. Let it be. Enjoy it. When you stay in this place, when you stay in this place, this place of ekstasis, which is to be out of the mind, you can't be in your mind and out of the mind at the same time. You can't live being dictated to by your mind while simultaneously living out of your mind. Like nothing truly divine happens in the mind in that way. All true divine expression comes out of the mind experience, dictating or using the mind, using the brain, using the mind for an expression. But it's this essence, this divinity that is expressing itself. It's not the mind that's just doing the work. And the difference is one feels weighty and the other feels weightless. One feels like work and laborsome, the other one feels effortless. You're still doing something, but the difference is very different. It's very different the way you'll feel in doing it. It's a very different thing if I walk past Beth. When I walked into the house, she wanted a kiss. She actually asked me for a quickie. If you want to know the truth. She was like, "You got time for a quickie?" If you really want to know the truth. And she goes, "I really just mean a kiss." And if I feel obligated to kiss her, then it won't be as much fun for me or for her. If I was under the law or rule that I could only kiss her and I couldn't put a big kiss on Dean's mouth or on Stephanie's mouth, then it also wouldn't be as much fun for me to kiss her. Because now she's saying, you can only enjoy my mouth. And I would have two big fuck yous for her, because that's not the way I'm going to live my life. I'm not going to live my life being dictated to by someone else, regardless of whether I do or do not kiss anyone else on the mouth is not the point. The point is, don't put law on people that you love. Like, you don't place law on people that you love. You don't do it. You don't put somebody in a little doghouse, build a cage around them and say, "I love you." That's how you treat an animal. Like, if an animal's going to run and get hit by a car, you're like, "I love you enough to put you in this cage because you're being stupid." You don't treat human beings like beings aren't supposed to be treated that way, put in cages. That's not how we learn the best. Does this make sense? Okay, so I'm not telling you this because you should be worried about whether or not you are existing in someone else's cage. I'm telling you this because you should be expressing freedom to everyone else. That's why I'm telling you this. You're not in anyone else's cage. Only in their mind are you in their cage. You're not capable of being in anybody else's cage. You might submit to certain things. You might put yourself in that place for in certain situations, and you can willingly do that. You can choose that. That's fine. That's completely up to you. All I'm suggesting for you is this: that when you're free and you're truly living in this out of mind place, you give. And you express and you allow there to be free expression. You allow there to be an environment in which this essence can be creatively expressed in love. And this truly comes from that mindful place. And when I say mindful, I don't mean mindless. When I say mindful, what I really mean is ekstasis. When you live out of your mind, you're very present in the moment. When you live in the moment, when you're not living in the moment, you're living in your mind. To be truly in the now, you have to be out of your mind. If you're spending too much time thinking, you're in your mind. Your mind is dictating the terms of your existence. So sometimes even when I bring up, like, when I brought up the cage, did any of you immediately think about your own situation or circumstance? But see, that's not why I was bringing it up. I was bringing it up so that you could release those other beings in your life from any cage, that you could just be like, listen, I'm never going to put you in a cage. Like, I love you, you're free. I wasn't bringing it up for you to reflect upon you being in a cage, because the truth is you, who you really are, can never be in a cage. If you're in one, if you really know who you are and you're in one, it's because you're willingly putting yourself there. And that's okay if that's your choice, but just know that you're making the choice to do it. Just know that, and if you know that, then you can make that choice. This is my point. You can make that choice and still be free. But if you're not making the choice to do it, if somebody else is making the choice for you, that's different. Am I making sense for you? I know this is kind of a blending between mindfulness and some other things, but am I making sense to you right now? Yes, okay. Somewhere along the line, we went to this teaching place instead of just hanging out together. I don't know what happened. But, yeah, so this week what I want you to do as far as the practice goes, and I'm just going to open up for questions. I'm going to give you this and I'll open up for just talk. Questions, interaction. I want you to practice this walking meditation. Be intentional with it. Still do it. If you want to do like 10 minutes walking meditation, 10 minutes or 20 minutes of sitting meditation, do your 10 minutes of walking meditation, then do 20 minutes of sitting meditation. That's great. But then I also want you to practice intentionally slowing yourself down. Has anybody done that throughout the week, walking from your house to your car, walking from your car to the grocery store? Now, I'm not suggesting that you should live your life and try to be just like Silas and be like slow and like a sloth. Sloths are awesome. Don't knock sloths. But I'm not saying that. The reason why I'm saying this is because I'm simply wanting you to slow down a little bit and be more intentional with everywhere you're walking, and be more aware of your breath and the high and the moment in every step, in every situation, instead of just in those intentional ones where you're practicing the sitting meditation. So we're practicing, basically what I'm saying is I want you to practice the meditation, the sitting meditation and the walking meditation. And I want you to be more intentional with it in every facet of your experience. So start to be more aware of your breath every moment of the day. And if you catch yourself not just feeling that peace that might come in. Does anybody feel more peaceful when you do sitting meditation? You feel a little more weightless, just a little bit more easy? Okay. So I just want you, every time you realize that you're not intentionally breathing, that you're accidentally breathing, just go back to the massage. But do it while you're intentionally breathing. Go back to talking to your employee or your children or your husband or boyfriend or whatever, your lover. I really want to get all you together, and I just want to breathe with you and stare into your fucking eyes all night. I really want to do it. I just want to be with you. Dude, I want to pull like an all-nighter, like those days when we were on meth. And just be with you. You know, like none of us here probably ever did that, but just be with you. And how delightful would that be? Just to be, right? Well, we're here. It'll happen in the form at some point. You know how I know? Because I keep talking about it. Keep bringing it up. Last week it was like, we're going to Kevin's. This week I'm like, for real, we're going to do this. But I just want to be with nothing, no thought, no agenda, no law. Let's do a flow event soon. Let's do that. Let's do a flow event. The last thing I wanted to do for a flow event was I wanted to do normally I did like a 3-day event, but I wanted to extend it for a week, but I wanted it to be But it's basically 3.5 or almost 4 days of flow event, and then like 3.5 days of like just being together and practicing the things that we learned. And there might still be like one session in the evening, or just a meditation session, or just being together, asking questions, but the rest of the time was just being together and like just practicing and flowing and existing in this harmony and this stillness. And does that sound fun? Stephanie she came to a flow event. She had to took her a little while to decompress after the event, didn't it? So you want to talk about it?
Oh my goodness. I was thinking about re-listening to that recording. I think I'm ready now.
Which one?
From the flow.
But all those recordings, yeah.
Yeah. I just think where I'm at now, it would be beneficial to look back at, because I feel like I've grown from it.
Oh yeah.
And I've learned so much. But there's still so much. It's ongoing.
But at the time, those things felt like it was really violating. Like it felt really heavy.
Mm-hmm.
It felt really good, and yet simultaneously to the ego, it felt really heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good.
I think so. I enjoy it. I can only imagine what a third flow event would be like. I just keep. But yeah, just being with people that don't have an agenda. Like Kevin, like what we're expressing, you and I have been expressing for the last 2 classes, is something that most people don't ever experience in their entire life. Like they don't actually ever sit with somebody that doesn't have an agenda. And like even when you just get together with people, they have an agenda. Like I'm coming to have fun, or I'm coming to watch a movie, or I'm coming to do this. Like there has to be something to do, or I'm coming to smoke pot with you, or I'm coming to do, but there's not actually like no agenda. Just I'm going to be here. Let's just be together. I don't know what it's going to look like or what's going to happen. Let's just be together. And people don't know how to deal with that. It's really uncomfortable for people, and yet intimate and beautiful if people can like just get beyond that discomfort, And so I love it. I love it. I just want to be with you. All right, any thoughts? Anything you want to share? Questions?
Thank you for all the guided meditations.
Oh, I don't know if I'd call them guided meditations, but you're welcome. It was sort of, kind of, maybe. You're welcome. Thank you for them. I was just doing it from your bung. Don't you all just want to be nestled up in Laura's bunghole? Stephanie, your face. Oh, girl. I love your face. Facial expressions. I love you. Oh, shoot. Kevin, how bad do you want to be nestled up in Laura's bunghole?
That sounds very wonderful.
Doesn't it? Oh my God. We could all just have a cuddle session in her bung. Stephanie, did I do cuddle? I didn't do cuddle sessions with you guys, did I? Sometimes I'll do cuddle, like at the first flow event I've done them before, where cuddle sessions where I pair people up in 2s and 3s, and they just go and cuddle, no words, they just have to cuddle together. And it's really uncomfortable, especially for married folks. Like you have men that are, first of all, for real masculine men, it's uncomfortable. Unless they're masculine homosexual, then it's not uncomfortable at all. But for like masculine men, and when I say masculine men, I mean like the kind that are like, I'm manly, I ain't no fag, those kind of men. This is really uncomfortable for me to pair them up with another dude to have to go cuddle it out. And Kevin, it's great, man, bro. It's so much fun to watch that, or to pair up like a woman that's in a serious, like in a marriage. And you're like, I pair up a woman specifically with some hot dude. You have to go cuddle. And like you can see the battle going on in their head. Like, no, like if I can tell they're attracted to somebody, I'll actually have them cuddle it out because I want them to break through all these barriers. Like, stop it. Like, you know what I mean? And I would have them, and but anyway, cuddle sessions are the best. The first time you do them, there's all this battle, but by the end of the first cuddle session, they're just relaxing. And they're just like, oh, this is good. Like, this was actually, because people are actually, it's a thing now, people are actually paying people to come cuddle them. You know why? And this is, people are doing it even though they have spouses or mates or lovers, because their spouses, their mates, their lovers have an agenda. They can't cuddle without weight. And you can pay somebody and they don't have any thoughts towards you that are bad or any judgments. They're just there to cuddle and they just hold you. And so there's no, and you don't have any thoughts towards them. So in other words, the mind is kind of a blank space to just feel. That's what mindfulness is, man. It's just this blank space to be and to feel and to be with somebody. And it doesn't matter how long you've experienced them. It's this blank space to just be like, come here. And just hold each other and be with one another with no agenda. Whatever unfolds, unfolds, but with no agenda, you know, just to be together. It's beautiful. It's fucking beautiful. I love it. Anyway, cuddle sessions are the bomb. I don't normally get to participate in those things. Normally I'm like kind of left out of them, but I might have to participate next time. Doesn't that sound lovely, Kevin? A cuddle session? Multiple cuddle sessions? Man. It does. I'll tell you who loved those cuddle sessions. David loved those cuddle sessions. Oh my God. David was like, cuddle? Yes. Count me in. David loves to express through like hugs and cuddling and stuff. He's one of the few men that I know that would make people as uncomfortable as me with cuddling and just like holding somebody, and it's great. He's great at that. All right, any other thoughts from you guys? I'm just rambling, I guess, because y'all aren't talking, or maybe I'm just really high. I don't know, but anybody else? No? Yeah, just chilling. Nice. Beautiful. You cannot be mindful of the moment while simultaneously being mindful of law. Not a possibility. That's like trying to overthinking about something while simultaneously trying to be in ecstasis. Can't happen. You can't try to be in ecstasis. Being in ecstasis is what happens when you let go of all of your efforts. That's what I was trying to explain to TJ earlier in the set song. You can't try to get what I'm talking about. The only way you get what I'm talking about is when you let go of all your trying. But it seems like a lot of work to the ego. So come be with me, not with your agenda. Just be with me. Just be with me. In each and every moment. When you're present, I'm there with you. I promise I am. You're coming into a little bit of my space in that moment. So let's be together. In the form too, that'd be nice too. Yeah. Yeah. All right, lovers. I'm gonna let you go. If there's nothing else on your mind or your heart. Thanks for chilling. Thanks for hanging out with me tonight. Do 2 classes, both, all of you. Like 4 hours of like hanging out. It's been good. Hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. I promise when we hang out in the forum, unless it's like during a class, I won't talk this much. You're so loved. I love you guys. Each and every one of you, I love you. I value you. And there's nothing you can do to change that, ever. I love you. You're so beautiful to me. We're doing a poker game at my house Saturday, I think, if y'all want to come. So I realized, I want to say this in closing. No one else lives very few people live the way I do, so that like people aren't spontaneous. And so I'm trying to like plan stuff for their sakes. And so like Beth and I would be just like call people at the last minute, like, hey, come over, hang out. And like nobody can, like they just are so busy doing whatever they're, like people so often are like, oh, I wish you would let me know a week in advance or something. So we've gave some people some notice that we want to have a poker game next Saturday. So I'm giving you notice. I like playing poker because I like the strat. I like playing Texas Hold'em. But if Dean was on here, he'd be all in. He loves poker. But no, I'm serious. If you want to come, you can. But I realize y'all live long distances, so. It is. Have you ever done that though? Has anybody else, like, you live? I don't know how spontaneous y'all like live in your normal, every day-to-day existence, but you're kind of spontaneous, and it kind of works out where because you're so spontaneous that you can always chill when somebody else wants to, but typically the other way doesn't work the other way. Like, you know what I mean? Anyway, that's what I experienced. So.
The spontaneous ones to me they're always the best.
Yeah, I agree. My best friend is whoever I'm with presently, you know what I mean? Oh gosh, it's good times. Well, thanks for being here with me. I could just sit here and look at you all night. I love you, Stephanie. I love you, Beth. I don't know if she's there. I love you, Laura. I love you, Kevin. Love you guys so much. All right, well, you sleep tight.
Love you too.
Oh,
Love you.
thank you. That was so sweet of you to respond. Good night, guys.
I wrote a little bit to it. I never really legit like wrote with the music, like I wrote but not matched it with the music, made it work. But yeah, so I don't know, I'm pretty stoked. It turned out good for me. I'm happy with it. Just what I've got right now, I'm hoping to finish it. But I don't know. Hope you guys will like it. Should we go? We looked everywhere, and we searched high and low. We say we don't